What if the harder you push, the further your life slips away? And what if the way forward isn't in more effort, but in letting go?
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. We made it to the end of another week, guys. Isn't that exciting? Who's excited for the weekend? Drop a 1 in the chat if you have fun plans this weekend, and drop a 2 in the chat if you're just planning on being lazy, and drop a 3 in the chat if you have to work this weekend. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. We've been trained to believe that success, happiness, and peace only come through relentless control, constant planning, and unyielding effort. But when you try to grip life too tightly, it pushes back. Relationships strain, opportunities vanish, and your mind turns into a storm of overthinking. You feel exhausted, disconnected, and no closer to what you want. There's a paradox most people never discover. The less you try to force life into shape, the more it naturally aligns for you. In this episode, I'll show you exactly why and how to step into that state where peace, clarity, and opportunity seem to find you without any struggle. But before we get into it, guys, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail so far. If you guys are watching live right now, there's quite a few of you guys watching live. Don't be a stranger. Sound off in the comments, okay? I could actually bring your comments on the screen. You can be a part of the show, but do consider sending a super chat or two, or if you're watching on Facebook, I guess they call it gifts or stars or something. I don't know. But doing that helps support the show, especially if you find value in this type of content. And just know that this is my full-time job. I am a full-time content creator and men's coach. So when you do send a ducat or two, that helps get the bills paid, if you know what I mean. All right. We didn't want that. All right, let's get into it, guys. We're going to build awareness that forcing control creates resistance. That's the goal here. So a lot of times in life, we have this illusion of control, don't we? We have this in our relationships when our girl's not acting right, especially us men, and we're fixers and we're problem solvers. We have this illusion of control that if we could just do something and just say something, somehow we could fix her mood. We can fix her emotions, right? That doesn't work out that way. It doesn't. Thing is, like, life's complexity, it can't be micromanaged. We don't always have control. And this is where Stoic wisdom and Stoic philosophy really helps. It really helps because it allows you to focus on the controllable. And the thing is that when we have this illusion of control, but we don't actually have control, a lot of that creates anxiety in us, because we're like, I need to fix this problem. I don't know how I'm going to fix this problem, but I know I need to fix this problem because I have to have some kind of form of control. And the thing is, not everything you have control over. I think one of the hardest things for guys, especially in the relationship space, is realizing you can't control your girl. You can't control her moods. You can't control her emotions. You can't control her reactions to things. And so, but we're always trying to have some form of control over that and try to fix things and try to make things better. We end up walking on eggshells and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't work out. And that's why when I'm coaching guys with dead bedroom situations and stuff like that, I'm always like, you can only focus on yourself. You can't control her. You can't change her. All you can do is change you, how you look at things and how you show up. Those are the only thing you have control over. Okay. You only have control over what's around, what's here. Right. You only have control over what you think about up here. Well, a lot of times this lack of actual control, but wanting control causes us to overthink, and we start spinning out of control with our minds. We start overthinking things, and that creates the very obstacles that we're trying to avoid. And that sort of manifests itself as paralysis by analysis. How many of you guys are you guys have to have all the facts? You got to have all the facts, and you got to weigh all your options, and you got to spend a lot of time thinking about things before you'll make a decision. How many of you guys do that? You'll spend, weeks thinking of something to buy. You'll, whatever. You overthink things, and you tend to overanalyze things. And how many of you guys have spent so much time thinking about something that you never get around to taking action on something? That's the definition of analysis paralysis, where you're too busy researching and looking up numbers and watching YouTube videos and reading books about it. And you want to make an informed decision here, but you never actually make a decision. You never take that action. How many of drop a 1 in the chat if you've done that? Well, the thing is that the more you obsess over every possible outcome, the less you're likely to act. Okay. And the thing is that if you want anything in life, it requires taking some form of action. And a lot of guys, they don't trust their gut enough. They don't trust their own intuition enough. And so they've got to, do all this research or whatever they call research, but really ends up just being procrastination. Yeah. But the thing is that the more you obsess, the less you act. That tends to delay progress, and it actually lets opportunities slip by. You see why that could be a problem? It also misdirects your energy. That mental energy spent on rehearsing fears or trying to control every detail, it drains the focus you need for an effective action. And this is where I really try to get guys to snap out of that analysis paralysis habit. It's a bad habit. It's a negative paradigm. It actually holds you back in life. If you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of the things that I learned from that book, one of the things that I talk about on the podcast quite a bit, is he says that in that book that successful people make decisions very quickly, and then they change their minds very rarely. And so it actually will help you in life to build up the habit of not thinking so much, not going through so much analysis paralysis, and just going with your gut more. And the thing is that when you go with your gut and you go with an option, it doesn't always work out. You can still course correct. It's usually not the end of the world. Right. And so, but a lot of people are just afraid of making the wrong decision, so they don't make any decision. But the thing is that not only being more decisive helps you be more successful in life, it's more attractive. Women like guys that don't hem and haw about a lot of stuff, because guess what women do? They hem and haw about a lot of stuff. Women can't make a decision for crap. And so when you are indecisive and you are suffering from analysis paralysis, you're basically acting like a woman, which turns them off more. Yeah. But forget women for a minute and just focus on success in life. That requires taking some form of action. And this analysis paralysis is holding you back from that. And then that energy misdirection, you're directing this energy towards trying to make a decision when you could be directing it towards moving forward with your goal by taking some form of action. Okay. And then it ends up creating self-fulfilling friction. That constant mental pressure can trigger mistakes. It could strain your interactions with people, and all the setbacks that you were trying to prevent by overanalyzing the situation still tend to manifest themselves. And they probably wouldn't have been there if you would have just said, you know what, I'm going to go with option A. One of the ways that I try to get guys to break that nasty habit is to flip a coin, right? But not not look at the coin. Okay. So you narrow your decisions down to two things, and then you assign heads to this and tails to this, and you flip a coin, and whatever you're hoping it lands on. It doesn't have to actually have landed on it. You just go, man, I hope it lands on heads. Well, that's because in your gut, you want to go with option A. So just go with option A. Don't even look at the coin. Okay. That'll help you be more decisive if that's been a problem for you. There's an emotional cost to wanting to have control over the uncontrollable. It causes a lot of stress, a lot of tension, disconnection from it causes disconnection from your own internal intuition when that happens. You'll find that a lot of people that suffer from anxiety, it's because they're living in the future in a possibility that hasn't even happened yet. And they're too busy overanalyzing all their potential options and trying to think about how they can control the controllable, that it develops anxiety in them. They start developing a lot of tension and stuff like that, because your mind can't tell the difference between what's imagined and what's real. And so if you're imagining all these doomsday scenarios about something that might not ever happen, that your mind thinks it's real, and it causes the same physiological response in your body. And so that develops a lot of tension, a lot of stress, right? And so that develops a debilitating sort of anxiety. And one of the things that I used to worry a lot about things in the future, but years ago, and I still occasionally do, right? Like I'm not Mr. Perfect over here, even the nurse chick thinks I am, but don't tell her, guys. Don't tell her I'm not. But no, years ago, I had this boss. I used to do door-to-door office supply sales, and this guy was like the assistant manager of the office. And he and I were chatting one day, and I was talking about worrying about future whatever. And he goes, if you could be doing something about it right now, why aren't you? And I was like, or he goes, can you do something about it right now? I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, if you can be doing something about it right now, why aren't you? Okay. But if you can't do anything about it right now, then why worry about it? And that really stuck with me, because that's the base of stoicism, of controlling the controllable. It's, if you could be doing something about it and take an action, why aren't you taking that action to prevent that? And if the answer is, well, I can't possibly, well, stop worrying about it then. There's nothing you can do about it. You control the controllable, right? Well, one thing when you adopt that mindset, what you'll find is that if you're worrying about something and you ask yourself, is there something I could be doing about it right now? And let's say it's you have to go somewhere or call somebody, and it's like 9:00 at night, and you're like, well, they're not going to be open. They're not going to answer my call. I can't do anything about it right now. But what I can do right now is set a calendar reminder, so in the morning I can call them or go to wherever I have to go to take care of such a thing. Well, now you're taking an action towards what you can control. Well, I can control my reminder on my calendar. I'm taking an action. And you'll find that thinking causes anxiety, but taking actions cures that anxiety. So if you can take an action right now, even if it won't immediately solve your problem, that action you're taking will soothe that anxiety. Right? All right. Cool. All right. So pushing harder often produces worse results. The more we push to make things happen, the more unintended resistance we tend to end up building up, which keeps us in that state of resistance. Because when you are resisting something, it persists. Like you're trying to make this thing go away by taking some kind of, or by trying to control a situation that you can't control. It builds up a lot of resistance, and that whatever we resist tends to persist. Right? It's kind of like holding on to something tight with your fist. Okay, when your hands are clenched like this, you can't put anything in your hands, right? Can't put a pen in my hand. My hands are clenched because I'm holding on to something. I'm holding on to what what I'm trying to control, and I can't control it. I can't open myself up to new ideas that might be able to come to me if I let go. If I just let go and stop focusing on it. Okay. You're holding on to this. I need to do something. I need to do something. I need to do something. I don't know what. I don't know what. And then you're focused on this. It's creating a lot of resistance. And so you got to let that go so that the ideas can come to you. You see? Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Okay. It's kind of like money. When I study a lot of law of attraction stuff, I try not to do too much woo-woo on this channel anymore. I used to do woo-woo Wednesdays. I'm setting up a whole new channel, guys. It's called what is it's such a new channel. It's called Quantum Reality Awakening. My first videos are going to be dropping this Sunday, but that's going to be pure woo-woo. If you guys are really into the woo-woo, you're going to love that channel. But in studying law of attraction, that's one of the things that I realized when it comes to money. The money and wealth is a mindset. And I used to be so worried about money, and I would hold on to money so tightly. The thing is that when you're holding on to money so tightly, no money can come into your fist, right? You're holding on to it so tightly. But if you realize that money is energy and energy flows, well, if you're less likely to just hold on to that money. You're going to do more stuff with it. And the thing is that more money tends to come to you when you do stuff like that. It's very woo-woo. I'll admit, but it tends to work out that way. So there is a way to live where life meets you halfway. But before I show you that, guys, do be sure to follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. And if you haven't done so already, get my free ebook, She's Made You Weak. It's the top link in the description. It explains why attraction erodes in long-term relationships and, over time through what we call the betatization process. If you're in a relationship right now, you're going to want to get this if you haven't gotten it already, because it will prevent a lot of problems you might have down the road. And it might also help you turn things around if things are starting to slide. Because if you don't know what's happening, you don't know how to defend against the dark arts, okay? And then, guys, today is Frame Friday. My book that I say is my book on frame is my psychology paradigm book. And it's all about rewiring your mind to have more of a dominant masculine presence. But in doing so, it'll help rewire your mind to have more success in life and in all areas, whether it's with women, with business, or whatever, because it really wires your mind to have that dominant masculine presence, to be more decisive, to set the tone and lead in all areas of your life, have extreme ownership over things. And that kind of mentality will really lead you really far in life in general. Let me play a commercial for that, and then we'll get back to the topic today.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script? Reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life. This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in R.P. Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today. Reprogram your life and step into the man you were meant to be.
Yes, indeed. Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Thank God it's Friday."
So naughty.
She is. Wait.
I'm going to come.
There we go. There we go. Did you guys know that Nurse Chick wrote a book? Belly's full, balls empty. You know what she said in this? She autographed it for me. She says, "My love, if I ever stop doing the things in this book, spank me with it." Good girl. Good girl. You can find that on Amazon. It's literally the only book titled Belly's Full, Balls Empty out there. You want to know why? Because it's such a simple concept it's such a simple concept that it's almost like women don't know how to keep a man, but it's such a simple concept, right? Like, ladies, here's a book on it. Here's a book on it. Brother Ray's in the house. Good morning, everyone. Dividend Gypsy says, going out with my chica and she's staying over mañana. Hey, my man. Master Roshi says, good morning. Brian Scasta says, very good book. I'm thinking he must be talking about Think and Grow Rich. Right? Is it Think and Grow Rich that you're talking about? Anyway. All right, cool. And then we got a bunch of people that are either going to, they have exciting plans this weekend. Mowdy's going to be lazy. And then Will says he's going to be lazy and he also has to work. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, where are we at? Where are we at here? The inner resistance loop. Okay. As you're trying to force things, it tends to trigger more obstacles. How does that work? Well, that tension of trying to control things, and it tends to invite pushback. Like when your actions are rooted in pressure, people and situations naturally respond with equal resistance. Have you ever been in a panic and you're flustered and you're trying to get people to do what you want to do and it makes them all flustered? Has that ever happened to you? Like you go into panic mode and so everyone else around you panics. Okay. Well, a lot of this triggers, freeze. What is it? Fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. Well, that fight mode tends to blind you. It forces narrow perceptions, making you miss easier or more effective solutions that are right in front of you. And a lot of that is like when you're in a hurry. Like, have you ever noticed how when you're in a hurry, you tend to make more mistakes? But if you are calm and you're more, logical about things and more organized, you tend to make less mistakes. It's the whole reason why when there's an emergency situation, they try to keep people from panicking, because that panic mode, people stop thinking clearly. Well, that's because you're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so you're not thinking, you're just thinking about survival at that point. And so it tends to blind you from other things and might actually cause you to get injured or something, right? So the same thing happens in fight mode. You're blinded by all these other options because you're not taking a step back and thinking about it more clearly, using your cognitive mind. And then that escalating effort becomes a trap. The more resistance you face, the harder you push, which only fuels more resistance in return. That's why I say what you resist persists. Got it? And then that creates an emotional toll that develops more anxiety, decision fatigue, loss of spontaneity, all that kind of stuff. Everything becomes mechanical, and you're not really enjoying this whole process. Now it's work. Now it's stress. Now it's just one other thing on your plate. A lot of that kind of stuff has a cost to your relationships too. When control replaces trust, like if you become a controlling guy, this is where learning how to effectively set boundaries, it's a game changer for guys, because the way guys think that you should set boundaries is by becoming more controlling, which is unattractive behavior, which actually pushes women away more. Like, you can't go out with your friends, I forbid it. That kind of stuff. That's controlling behavior. That's you trying to control your woman. But if you set an effective boundary of, hey, I can't be with someone that goes out with their hoe friends. Okay. That's you saying, hey, by all means, if you want to go out with your 304 friends, that's on you, but I'm not going to be around when you come back. Okay, that's that's my boundary. But you're your own woman. You can do whatever you want to do, right? That's a more effective way of setting a boundary, because it's still leaving the decision up to her. You're not controlling her. She can do whatever she wants. She's a grown woman. Okay. But she also doesn't get to dictate whether you're going to stick around or not. This is a boundary I have. So that you trying to control that, it tends to erode emotional safety. So when one person constantly dictates outcomes, the other feels unseen or undervalued. This is where Get Her to Fuck You Again, in Ryan's book on Dread, we talk about the captain first officer dynamic when you're setting the tone and leading your relationship. When you're the captain and she's the executive officer, you're not ruling the relationship like an evil dictator. You're not barking orders and commanding things. And you'll tune into some of these toxic red pill channels, and they'll say that, like, you need to lay down the law, and it's very ineffective. Okay. Because the other person's going to start feeling controlled and oppressed, and that's not what makes women feel secure at the end of the day. They don't want to be controlled. But when you lead the relationship like the commanding officer, she's your executive officer, you're going to take her ideas under advisement on occasion. She's probably got great ideas. And if you do that, she's going to feel more included and trust your ability to lead your relationship. But every once in a while, she's going to come up with an idea that it just doesn't match your idea. And so what you can say then in that circumstance is, you know what, honey, that's a great idea. We're going to go with this option for now, and we'll try your idea if this doesn't work out. Like, that's setting the tone and leading and taking her ideas under advisement. Trying to control everything kills natural connection. That control stifles spontaneity. It makes interactions feel like transactions instead of genuine moments. When you're actively taking your girl's input, like, you don't ask necessarily for her input, but women are always opinionated. They're going to give you their input. Sometimes it's a good idea. Like, oh, actually, your idea is better than mine. I'll do that. That creates connection. Have you ever, think about it from your point of view? Have you ever been at work and your boss wants to do something and you think that there's a more efficient way of doing it? And so you float the idea of, hey, boss, do you think we could do it this way? I think it'd be more efficient. And you sort of explain your idea, and your boss goes, you know what? I think that's a better idea. Why don't we do it your way? Go ahead and do it your way. Like, you feel more valued, right? You're like, yeah, that is a good idea. You're right, boss. Give me a raise for that, right? Like, it makes you feel good. Well, same thing happens with your girl when you're setting the tone, leading the relationship, and she has an idea for you, and you go with her idea. She's like, ooh, he took my idea, right? Like, it feels good. They like that. That's natural connection. When you're trying to control things, it breeds quiet resentment. Over time, the lack of trust can cause withdrawal, hidden frustration, and eventually break down the bond in your relationship. She starts shutting down. You never listen to her anyway. Same thing happens to most of you guys. When she's running the relationship and she's shooting everything you do down and she's not putting out anymore, like, you start feeling shut down and frustrated too. Okay. Put yourself in her shoes as the one setting the tone, leading the relationship. Okay. Because that's where you want to be. That's where she wants you to be. Right. But a lot of you guys have handed the keys to the car over to her, and now she's driving. And so now you are shutting down and all this kind of stuff because she's doing that stuff to you. Okay. Well, you need to take back control of the car. You need to start driving again, bro. And there can be a hidden spiritual cost, which there's a disconnection from your own creative source. And I try not to get too woo-woo into it, but this is a good segue to just remind you guys that I've created a new YouTube channel. It's called Quantum Reality Awakening for the guys that really do like the woo-woo. I'll drop a link to that channel. if you guys used to enjoy my Woo Woo Wednesday episodes, this is the channel for you. Because even on the Woo Woo Wednesday episodes, I really had to water down some of the law of attraction stuff because there's basically 3 explanations for it. There's a psychological one, which I find people in the red pill space, they are a little more closer to accept the psychological explanation. There's a spiritual one. A lot of atheists and agnostics, they don't like the spiritual one. I get it. And then there's a quantum science one. And quantum science will make your eyes glaze over. It's pretty wild stuff. And so it's really hard for a lot of people to comprehend. So I never explain it from that. On this channel, I'm going to explain it from all 3. I'm with all 3 perspectives. So no matter where you fall on the spectrum, you'll probably enjoy that show. But I dropped a link to that in the chat. New episodes are going to be every Sunday for that. And this Sunday, I'm dropping 2 episodes simultaneously as a part of the channel launch. But after that, it'll just be once a week, once every Sunday, short episodes. I'm thinking, no longer than 20, 30 minutes or so. I think the first one I recorded one already after editing, actually wasn't very long at all. It was only like 6 minutes long. So quick little short bursts of information for you. But check that out if that's something that you're interested in. That being said, I got a story for you guys. There was once a man who believed that everything worth having in life had to be earned through relentless effort. His parents had taught him that nothing comes easy, and he wore that belief like armor. Have your parents ever said that? Nothing comes easy, like money doesn't grow on trees, anything like that? Because you'll find that shapes your paradigm around life and money, right? Nothing comes easy. Well, now everything's hard. Okay. Doesn't have to be, but your mind has programmed that everything's hard in life. And money doesn't grow on trees. And what are we, Rockefeller? And we can't afford that. All that stuff shows up in your life as a paradigm. Okay. Well, one morning he set out on a wide river in a small wooden boat. In his mind, his goal was clear, a place far ahead where he believed he would finally find peace and success. He had heard about it from others, imagined it 1,000 times, and convinced himself it lay somewhere upstream. So he planted the oars in the water and began to row hard. Each pull strained his muscles and burned his lungs. The river's current pressed against him, but he told himself that pushing through resistance was proof of his determination, and every bead of sweat felt like a badge of honor. Hours turned into days. His hands blistered and bled. His back ached. He passed other travelers floating easily with the current, smiling, enjoying the scenery. He dismissed them as lazy or uncommitted. They'll never get anywhere, he thought, and he kept rowing harder. This is making me think of the sunk cost fallacy. Have you guys you put in so much sweat equity and so much time and so much effort into something, and then you realize it's a lost cause, but you don't want to let it go because of all the effort you put into it? Yeah, most of our marriages are like that. Right? You put in all this effort and I can't just throw it away. I've put in all this time and whatever, but it's a losing effort and you're struggling, and sometimes life is just better when you let go. Okay. Not saying don't fix your marriage. Okay. I'm just saying that there's a better way of doing it. And part of that is letting go of trying to fix your girl and focusing on yourself. That tends to fix your marriage. It's kind of funny. Okay. Something began to change. The harder he rowed, the less progress he seemed to make. Some days the current was so strong, it pushed him backwards, undoing hours of work in minutes. The riverbanks became unfamiliar and unfriendly. Jagged rocks, tangled roots, dark overhangs. His once clear vision of the destination began to blur, replaced by a gnawing question he tried to ignore. What if I'm going the wrong way? Well, one evening, exhausted beyond words, he let the oars rest. And for the first time in years, he stopped trying to move forward. The silence startled him. The water lapped gently against the boat. He noticed a soft pull beneath him. The current, steady and effortless. He thought about the faces of those who had floated past, carried easily by this same force he had fought for so long. Curiosity overcame pride, and he turned the boat around. The moment he faced downstream, the river seemed to welcome him. The current carried him swiftly. No rowing required. The banks became lush again, the air warmer, the light softer, and there, not far ahead, was the very place he had been seeking all along. It had been downstream the entire time. And in that moment, he realized the peace he had chased was never about conquering the river. It was about trusting it to carry him where he was meant to go. Most people live like the man in the boat. They're fighting against the natural current. Instead of focusing on what they want, what they actually want in life, and letting their inner voice guide them, they tend to focus on more of what they don't want, don't they? I don't want this. And they tend to keep attracting more of that. We get what we focus on in life. And if you're always focusing on what you don't want and avoiding what you don't want, you keep getting more of what you don't want. Isn't that weird? Isn't that funny? While you guys think of that, I've got a question for you. Who wants to run with the wolves, brother?
Bear Club? Not anymore.
You fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
Yes, indeed. Guys, you missed it. If you were not in the wolf pack, some of you guys missed a pretty awesome hangout last night. We had our monthly hangout yesterday evening, went for another 2 hours. I posted a picture on social media. Well, a good turnout. A couple of new guys were in there. It was awesome. Speaking of brothers, Ray says, if you panic, you die. A very wise man. Yes, someone's read my first book. I talk about that and everything I wish I knew when I was 18. Yes, women are very much like cats. Something I learned from Coach Corey Wayne. And then brother Ed's in the house. He's a Wolfpack brother. He says, looking forward to the new channel. Ed, we missed you at the hangout last night. What happened? Were you out touching butts? You know, he's a professional butt massager. That's what he does. He rubs girls' butts all day. It's a pretty rough job. Pretty rough job that he's doing. He's a Wolfpack brother, so I'm going to give him the shaking booty video.
Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
And demonetized. Guys, send some more super chats if you're gonna be doing that kind of silliness. Master Roshi, subscribe to the new channel. Awesome. Yes. Remember, Quantum Reality Awakening. The link's in the chat there. Mike Farrow's in the house. Brother, where have you been, dude? Like, you've been a ghost in the Wolfpack lately. We haven't heard from you. We missed you last night on the call. Will says, I'm a fan of the woo woo. Oh, good. You're going to love this new channel, man. Parable Paul in the house. How can one apply this mindset to financial abundance? You're going to love Sunday's episode on quantum reality awakening, because one of the first videos is all about finances. It's all about mindset around finances and actionable steps you can take to get your mind right around finances. I think you'll like that. All right. Ed says, but what? I was invited to dinner last night, or I would have been there. You know what? Next time you cancel plans, you say, look, I got a fucking Wolfpack hangout. Okay. I can't abandon my brothers. You move your fucking dinner to another night. You hear me? You son of a bitch. That's how you lay down the, just kidding. Don't do that. Oh man. Mike says, well, my son is born and I'm about to start a new job. Oh, congratulations, man. Congratulations. How's it feel to be a new dad, Mike? How's it feel, brother? That's awesome. Brother Nathan's in the house. What's up? What's up, Nathan? All right. So yeah, you guys that weren't in Wolfpack, you guys missed an awesome hangout, but don't miss the next one. Join the Wolfpack right now. Okay. All right. Let's recognize when we're trying to force things. How do we even know that we're trying to force things to happen and that's what's keeping us stuck? Well, you're going to feel some physical tension when you're trying to force things that just aren't working the way they should. That's what I was talking about earlier with the anxiety. When you're focused on a future event, you've got this doom scenario in your head, your mind can't tell that it's not real. And so your body starts tensing up as if it's really happening, and that impacts your physiology. So you're going to experience some physical tension when you're trying to push for something that you have resistance for. Okay. You're going to have mental racing. Like, you're going to find yourself in these doom scenarios in your head. You're going to get this emotional tightness. Okay. This actually used to happen to me a lot before, or back when I was an IT director. Okay. Cause I'm now retired. I'm a full-time content creator and men's coach now. But back in the day, when I used to be an IT director, there was times where I would be face down in a problem, Googling solutions, tinkering with configurations, just racking my brain. Why doesn't this work? Why can't I get this problem to solve, right? Like, I'm trying to solve this one big problem. And it never failed. It never failed. When I would just let go, okay, when I would let go and just go for a jog, because I used to be, back in the day, I used to be an avid runner. Now I'm a bicyclist because of my knees. But anyway, I would go for a jog. And the thing is that as I was out going for a jog and I was like listening to podcasts or listening to audiobooks, and just my mind would be wandering, because as you're listening to music or podcasts or audiobooks, you'll find that you're listening to this stuff for a little bit, but then your mind goes off on tangents, right? That's when your subconscious mind's taking over. Your subconscious mind is like, okay, he's in a pattern right now. He's doing a habit. He doesn't have to think that hard. And you sort of end up in a trance state where your subconscious just starts grinding away at crap, right? And it would never fail. I would go out for a jog, and as I'm out jogging, the idea would just pop into my head. Why don't you try this? Why don't you test this out? And when I got back to my desk after running, I would test that out, and it almost always worked. It was fascinating. That always happened when I would just let go of that resistance of trying to focus on the problem. And God, I got to solve this problem. If I don't solve this problem, we get fired. Let me go for a break. Let me go for a run. And then magically, this is why when you're in the car, you get your best ideas. This is why when you're in the shower, you get your best ideas. It's because you're not forcing anything to happen. You're letting go. It's fascinating how that works, right? I didn't mean to do that. I don't know how that happened. So one thing you can do is recognize when you're forcing things, okay? Then pause and breathe for a minute. Just break the pattern. Just take a step back, take a deep breath, right? if you're really feeling the tension, the mental racing, whatever, all this comes down to awareness. Okay. You have to be aware of it in the moment. So when you find yourself like that, stop and take a deep breath. Okay. When I was going through college, one of my first, like, any kind of like programming class that I had, it wasn't even like we made one like program, but then we also spent like half the semester learning Excel and doing like advanced Excel programs and stuff like that, because you can really do a lot within Excel. A lot of people don't realize this. And so we were learning how to, like, create these advanced spreadsheets that did all this automation and crap. Anyway, the guy who taught that class was a former computer programmer, and he would say that if he was racking his brain over why a program wouldn't compile or whatever, he would print out the code on a piece of paper and then go out to the smoke break and just have a cigarette and just sort of look through the paper. And that's when he would always find that there was a fucking semicolon in a place that there should have been a fucking comma or something, because that's what programming does. But he would always do that when he would let go and stop staring at the computer screen and go have a break, right? Same kind of thing. So you want to shift from forcing to allowing. So trust that not every outcome has to be engineered. Sometimes things sort of happen in their own way. Okay. And that was probably the right way the whole time. Okay. A good example of this is, it's funny. I spent last October, I hired a business coach, and the thing about the business coach, it was great. I learned so much from the business coaches in the program. And the thing is that the way that they talked it was like, there's only one way to run a business, and it's this way, right? It's this way. And the thing is that I hated the way that they were running the business. I'm like, I don't want to work like that. I don't want to do that. The way you're having me do this is not. I have a serious mental resistance against it. Not because I don't think that it can work for me. It's just that I fucking hate it. Right? I just don't like this. And so I stopped working with him, and I started pursuing other options. And I'm finding that these other options work way better for me. It's more aligned with what I want to do. And so once I stopped trying to force his model into my business and started going with the model that I actually like. I mean, I'm still doing a newer model, but when I figured that out, I was like, oh man, this is way easier. I have way less resistance to it. And now things are happening. You see, it's fascinating how that works. You want to act from inspiration, not compulsion. Okay. Learn to wait for aligned action instead of fear-driven action. When you are doing stuff out of fear, it's often the wrong way of doing things. It creates more problems down the road. You're not going the right direction. Right. And same thing. It goes back to me working with my business coach. I had an epiphany with this. I was like, man, I absolutely hate this. The way he's having me do this, it's works, like I'm getting sales, I'm getting clients or whatever, but like I'm dreading this whole experience. I don't like it. There's got to be a different way. So started changing things around. Started studying more Russell Brunson's material. Russell Brunson stuff is more in line with what I want to do. And the funny thing is years ago, MLD told me, you got to study Russell Brunson's books on repeat. Just read those on repeat for 6 months straight, and you'll be good. And the first time I read his books, it didn't make sense to me. But after doing the coaching program, more of Russell's stuff that he was talking about in the books made more sense. So it's like I had to go through that experience in order to get back to what MLD told me years ago. Right? It's kind of a funny thing. You need to let go of timelines. Results often arrive on a different schedule than expected. So not to get all woo-woo, but one of my mentors, one of my biggest influences is a guy named Bob Proctor, the late Bob Proctor. And he used to talk about the law of gestation. And when I heard him talk about this concept called the law of gestation, it was almost a slap in the face for me, because not in a I don't mean that in a negative way. It was just like, it woke me up like, wait, what? Like, I was very surprised that he said this. And the reason why it was so surprising was because he's well known for being a uber student of Napoleon Hill. Excuse me, I just sneezed there. He has read and reread Think and Grow Rich for like over 60 years. And he was always talking about Think and Grow Rich, and he would always cite Napoleon Hill and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich is setting a definite date to achieve your goal. You're like, I'm going to achieve XY goal by this date. And Bob Proctor says you can't do that. You can try to assign a date, but you have to understand that there's this thing called the law of gestation, which means there's a set period of time that you have to go through to become that person that would have that thing. Okay. And so it sort of contradicts what Napoleon Hill said. Although I've had it happen where I've set dates for things and things have happened on that timeline that I've set. So it can work both ways. But the thing is that what I find happens is when I set a date for something, if it hasn't happened by that date, doubt starts creeping in, and that doubt and fear, all that kind of stuff actually creates more resistance for you. And so you have to be able to let go of that and trust the process. But every time I've done that, what I've sought out to do has happened. It doesn't always happen the way I expect it to happen either. So good example of this, I talk about it in Everything I Wish I Knew when I was 18. I had this goal when I first started the podcast, and I had no idea how I was going to do it. I was so new to podcasting. I didn't know the ins and outs of everything. And now I, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I made it way harder than I had to. But I set this intention of having Dr. Robert Glover and Corey Wayne on my podcast by the end of that year. And as the years going by, all of a sudden, one of my original 3% brother friends, had Dr. Glover on his podcast. And I go, oh, dude, how'd you get Dr. Glover on your podcast? I have this intention of having Dr. Glover. And he goes, oh, I went to his website and fucking emailed him. I was like, what? It's that easy? Oh, that's ridiculous. Anyway, so emailed Dr. Glover. And I didn't hear back from Dr. Glover for several months, but he finally replied back saying, yeah, I'm doing interviews again. I'd love to do your show. And so I had Dr. Glover on. And then the thing was that it was coming up near the end of the year, and Corey Wayne not only was not responding to me, like he was actively blowing me off. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I'm not going to get into it. But I had this epiphany of, why not get Rollo Tomasi on your show? Right? All of a sudden, just this idea popped in my head. Forget Corey. Why don't you get Rollo on your show? And one of the reasons why that epiphany came up was because I was scrolling some podcast, what is it called? Listing. And I happened to notice that Rollo did some no-name guy's show. And I go, yeah, I mean, if Rollo's going to do this guy's show, there's no reason why he wouldn't do my show. And so I reached out to Rollo on Twitter at the time. And 5 minutes later, Rollo got back to me. He's like, yeah, I'm following you. Yeah, DM me. And so I DM'd him, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. And the thing is that having Rollo on my show opened up way more doors for me than I think having Corey Wayne a one-off time would have done for me. You know, Rollo introduced me to so many other guys in the space. He invited me on Rule Zero. I got to interview all the Rule Zero guys. And that slight change made the podcast get bigger. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes it doesn't work out the way we want it to, but you always have to have your mind open for something better to happen. Most recently, 5 years ago, I set the intention of doing this full-time, being a full-time podcast creator, content creator, and I was going to do it by August of 2025. And 2 weeks before August 2025, here I am. Started doing this full time mid-July, 2 weeks before that happened. And it was just like, wow, it's amazing how things like that turn out. Right. But it didn't happen the way I envisioned it happening. It's happening in a slightly different way, but I'm ready for it. I've spent the last 5 years building up a nest egg and all this kind of stuff that when I got laid off from my IT career, I was like, holy crap, this is my sign. Like I put the intention that I was going to be doing this full time, and here I am. Right. So sometimes it doesn't happen the way you expect, but it happens the way you need it to. Okay. And so that sort of goes hand in hand with this guy named Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard sort of agrees with Bob Proctor. And he says, you could say you want X, Y, and Z to happen by such and such a date, but if you're not ready to be the kind of guy that has that thing or has achieved that goal, it's not going to work out for you. It's not. You need that time in between. You need that gestation period, that law of gestation. Okay. So here's a good example of this. Let's say you won the lottery tomorrow. Okay. But you've never learned any money management skills. You'll be broke in a few years. Most people that win the lottery are broke within a few years. And it's because they haven't developed the mindset required to be that guy that has that kind of money. They're still stuck in poor brokey mode where they're like, oh, now that I have all this money, I'm going to spend it on Lambos and 304s and going on trips or whatever. And next thing you know, you're blowing this money, right? You blow it all. But let's say you set the intention to be rich, and for the next 3 to 5 years, you devour every investment book you can find, learn everything you can about making money now. When you win that lottery, after that, you'll be able to live off of it for the rest of your life because now you know how to properly invest it. You know that money doesn't actually buy happiness. Having more things doesn't actually buy more happiness. So why don't I take most of that money and sock it away in some index funds or in some crypto or buy some gold or buy some real estate, whatever. And then you actually put that money to work for you so that money grows more money for you without you having to do much work. Okay. Now you've become that guy that knows how to do that. Right. So that 3 to 5 years was the time you needed to become the guy that could live off of that lottery money for life. But if you're not ready for it, if you're not ready to receive that, it's going to leave you as quickly as it came to you. Okay. That's how things tend to work. So you want to replace control with clarity of intention. Define the what, but allow life to handle the how. And this is one of the things that I learned from the movie The Secret, but what's his name? Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield had a book called The Success Principles. Really great law of attraction type book if you guys are into that sort of thing. Jack Canfield, if you don't know who he is, he's the guy that came up with the Chicken Soup for the Soul series and multimillionaire. You know, that he's got so many different Chicken Soup for the Soul books at this point that, it's stupid. It's stupid money at this point. But that's one of the things that he says is the how is not your job. Okay. You just need to focus on the what, and the how will present itself. Right now, one could say that it's the universe doing it. One could say it's quantum theory and the observer effect, and it's causing it to, or you could just say that you focusing on the what, and you believing you have it right now causes your subconscious mind to figure it out for you. Like there's different explanations for it, but they all work. It doesn't matter. Okay. You can practice micro surrenders. So small decisions where you choose trust over tension. So for you religious folks, maybe you've heard the term let go and let God. You ever hear of that term before? But this is what they're talking about. Okay. You can have the intention of doing something, but then you need to let go and let God do his thing. Just trust that it's already done for you. Okay. Now, some of you atheists might be scoffing. Okay. then let go and let your subconscious mind figure it out for you. Okay. Like whatever makes you feel better listening to this message. Okay. But just like my story of getting the epiphanies when I was running, maybe it was God showing me the whole time, or maybe it was my subconscious figuring out. Does it really matter? The way I look at it is it doesn't matter why it works. It just works. Okay. And then you want to live in the flow. So letting go actually accelerates this process. It's kind of fascinating, but it's something I learned from Dr. Hawking's book, Letting Go. And the way he said it makes so much sense. Okay. But if you've ever studied law of attraction, you know it's supposed to be a 3-step process. Ask, believe, receive. Okay. Well, ask is, setting that intention, the what do I want? Okay. Believe is believing that you've already achieved it. And then receiving, it's really like it, you're getting yourself prepared to be that guy that receives that thing. Okay. So believing that it's already in motion, that does require some faith. It does require some faith that it's going to happen. But I'll tell you what, the more you test this stuff out, don't take my word for it. The more you test out this law of attraction stuff, you'll find that you start seeing the stuff happening for you. It does nothing but bolster your faith. It's like, oh my God, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. It always happens for me. And the funny thing is that having that assumption that it's always going to happen for you, it tends to happen for you a lot. It's the law of assumption. Neville Goddard talks about that too. But that faith is required to actually allow you to relax and let go. You won't be able to do it unless you have that faith. Okay. And so, like I said, if you're don't believe in God or whatever, that's fine. Just trust that your subconscious mind is a supercomputer that's going to figure it out. Okay. Whatever, however you want to believe, it's fine. It works. But that way, once you have that faith and you believe it's going to work out for you the way it's supposed to, now you're ready to receive. Now you're actually ready to receive it. Right. It's funny how that all works out. All right. What do the guys here say? So I had smashed that like button and Nathan says, smashed it hard. Good. Like I smashed your mom last night. Hey, Marty, what's going on, man? I haven't seen you in a while. And let's see here. Nothing wrong with a good old 401k. It tends to work, right? It tends to work. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune into, if you guys really like this woo-woo stuff, definitely check out that new channel, Quantum Reality Awakening. That launches this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time is when I'm going to start posting. I'm going to drop a link to that channel in the chat. If you guys like this sort of thing, you like the woo-woo, subscribe to that channel. Check out the content that I'm going to have there for you. Otherwise, tune into the podcast on Monday. We're going to go through attraction killer phrases that are causing your girl's attraction to erode a long-term relationship. So I created a list of 20. Be sure to tune into that to see if you're guilty of saying any of those things. And there a lot of them are so common, but they're going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, what? What's wrong with that? I'll explain. I'll go through all of them and we'll explain why that's bad. Should be a fun episode. I'm going to try to get back to more fun episodes. I think people like the entertainment value of the show, even though they're actionable information. They like the entertainment value more than these really long, drawn out, pod classes or whatever. Hey, William's in the house. What's going on, man? Thanks for showing up. I appreciate that. All right, guys, that's all we got. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat today. I appreciate that. Thank you to Brother Ed for sending that super chat. That supports the channel probably more than anything else. Guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Oh, I do want to remind you guys, if you guys are fans of my shorts content, my short little, sort of TikTok reels on YouTube, I've created a separate shorts channel for the podcast. It's called Come On Man Clips. You guys can follow that if you guys like the shorts content, but having shorts on my channel has killed my long form views, absolutely fucking destroyed it. And so I've moved that to a separate channel and I'm really going to focus on This channel being all long form content. So if you prefer the long form content, stick around. If you guys like shorts, go follow that new channel, Come On Man Clips. And then grab the ebook. It's the top link in the description. She's Made You Weak, or go to ebook.fixeddeadbedrooms.com. Grab Psychology Paradigm. It's my book on rewiring your subconscious mind to have more of that dominant masculine presence, have more success in life, have more success in your relationships. You can get all my books at Amazon or Audible. The links are in the description for those, or go to books.comeonmanpod.com for that. Get in the Wolf Pack. It's a good group of guys. It's only guys. It's men's only. It's like-minded, red pill aware men to swap notes with, level up in life. It's an active Telegram community. We just had our monthly hangout last night, and it was a great turnout like usual. So do that. If you guys want to, I didn't mention it during the thing, but you guys can sponsor a video. If you guys go to video.comeonmanpod.com, you have a question you want me to answer, maybe a situation you're going through and you want my advice on it, and you don't want to pay for one-on-one coaching, this is probably the next best thing. Sponsor video, go to video.comeonmanpod.com, and I'll make a dedicated video. Those go up on Tuesday nights right now. Here's the link to the Wolf Pack. And then, guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do offer one-on-one coaching as well. You can book a breakthrough and battle plan session by going to call.fixeddeadbedrooms.com. Brother Nathan says, Wolfpack, too sweet. I'll give him a too sweet for that. What's the age range in the Wolfpack? We've got guys from their 20s all the way up to their 60s. It's a pretty wide range of guys, Miles. All right, guys, that's all we got. We will see you guys. We'll see you guys Sunday for the new channel launch. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on Monday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.